Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pro Tri News. It's been a couple of weeks and we've got the gang back together, minus Talbot. We got Mark Matthews.
That's half our listeners gone. They've just switched straight off.
They're like, wait, the L word's not going to get said in the entire episode? Well, great. That's fantastic. But it'll probably still get said. So, Pat, Pat, how are you doing?
I'm ready to pod. I mean, we were talking about a bunch of races coming up today. I'm traveling to a bunch of races coming up. So tomorrow I'm going to the grand final. And I come back from the grand final. I'm going straight to Kona. So I have a huge 2 weeks of triathlon travel and spectating coming up. So.
And then Mark.
Can't wait.
Mark, how are you doing?
I'm good. Cat's obviously coming down from 2 races back to back, including the world champs, and just getting back to it. I'm not really getting back to it. I know we've announced me and Jack Kelly are racing, so I should be training, but not one part of me can give a single flying to go out and train right now. But it's all right.
You're bringing your bike, but you're going to bring your bike to Kona, right?
I'm absolutely not lugging a bike all the way to Kona.
Come on, no. We're restarting the industry ride.
Are you taking a bike to Kona?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, it's not happening. I'm going to drink in Kona. Cat's not there, right? So I'm actually on holiday, basically, with like 3 podcasts that Kyle will drag me onto. I'm on holiday, Pat.
We're putting every day, Mark. That's the problem.
But promise me we'll swim. You'll bring in your swimmers and goggles and we'll go swimming?
Pat, maybe you swimming every day of the week, mate. I'll do it and I'll bring some board shorts, no dramas. And
Beautiful.
Running trainers to run with Kyle, I've got that. But a bike, it's a long way to lug.
That's fair. Hey, no, it's fair. It's fair. I'm trying to be pro. So
I'll ask Leoto.
He'll have a bike.
Yeah. All right, we'll ride.
Yeah. Perfect.
Chris, sort me a bike, mate.
Easy. Well, we've been away for the last couple of weeks. There's been racing that's been happening. Ironman Barcelona happened. These are all silver tier races, so we'll probably go through them pretty quick. But Ironman Barcelona, pretty significant. Jan Stratman, he won the race?
Yeah, he won the race. It got quite close in here. So Barcelona is a sea swim, a real fast draft best bike course. But the front boys, they were only a pack of 5, to be fair to them. But it's fast. Let's not beat around the bush on that. But Jan Stratman's overall time, 7:28.25. I don't care what course you're doing that on. Bike pack of 5, that's not horrendous. I think it got down to 4 by the end. That is hella fast. So he went a 45.50 swim, possibly a bit short swim. But he's a very good swimmer, but fine, whatever. A 3:59.06 bike, followed by a 2:39.53 run to take it with a 7:28.25. You've got to give it to the guy. It's fast. It's real fast. What are we talking about? A lot of people will be listening to this and they've never even heard of Jan Stratman. You should know who Jan Stratman is, but they won't have heard of him. And he's going sub 7:30. Triathlon is booming right now.
Yeah.
And in second place, and then in second place we had Wilhelm Hirsch from Germany, so a German 1-2, and then a French guy, Dylan Magnon. I'm going to go with that. Yeah. With a 2:35.30 run on a legit course. It was an accurate run course, so pretty impressive. This is a race for boys that just missed out on Kona, basically. And they are kind of fit, ready for Kona. That's what they wanted to do all year. For some reason or other, they didn't make it. They turn up here and they go fast. That was the men's race.
And who's coaching Jan Stratman? Remind me.
Bjorn Giesman coaches Jan Stratman, which is Cat's coach.
Yeah,
he's got a lad in Kona. Bjorn doesn't coach that many people. He has one of the biggest triathlon coaching businesses in the world. So he just coaches a few people to stay in touch. And Jan's a good lad, so he made the cut. In the women's race, just to cover it off quickly, we had Marta Sanchez took the win. Really unsurprised by that, given how good she was in Nice, particularly how good she was in the bike in Nice. She was just excellent on that day. And then you had Sarah Svensk and Hangevik Guber from Germany in third.
Easy.
Stamping early slots, right? As well. It's not
early Kona slots for the women.
Yep.
And then early Nice slots for the men.
Yeah, exactly.
This weekend, we had Ironman Malaysia. First place, Fernando Toldi from Brazil. Second place, Tim Van Berkel. And third place, Andy Dreitz, who also raced Ironman Chattanooga a few weeks ago and rounded out the podium there. So
I'd love to see. So apparently the front two had a really good run battle. And I like Tim Van Berkel, etc. So that's cool. Andy Drites, if you ever meet the guy, he's a really lovely bloke. And it's nice to see him back banking a couple of results because he had a good race in Chattanooga, a podium here. Decent work, Andy.
Yeah. Especially after his accident. I mean, he crashed out,
God.
had
He got
massive crash.
with a motorbike or a car, was it?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
So yeah, fair play. Nice to see him back. Lovely bloke. But good for the front two boys. Again, solid results. That race is horrible, right? It's really humid, really hot. It's just a bit of a death march, I think.
And then on the women's side, you had Reagan Holyoink, who was not in Nice. I can't remember if she said that she couldn't make the travel or whatever. But she was not in Nice, but was able to bag the dub again here. Second place, Katie Redman, and then third place was Federica Di Nicola.
I'm 100% confident that's how you say it.
I can't tell if you're being a joke or if you're messing with me.
I'm messing with you.
But you know what, Kyle? You get an A for effort.
There you go. That's all.
Done, mate. Yeah, I can't talk.
ChatGPT, I love ChatGPT because you can ask it anything you want. I asked it one time, I said, can you roast Pro Tri News? And one of the things that it says is horrible name botches.
It did, yeah, it did. By the way, everyone that follows our Instagram knows that you and Talbot love ChatGPT. If ever there's an essay written in a comment section, it's invariably ChatGPT.
It's so good. It just helps so much.
But Talbot will invest. I mean, he might invest 20 minutes into talking to ChatGPT first just to get that 3-sentence response. So he will give the full scope and scale to what he's trying to deliver, and then they'll shoot back a 3 or 4 sentence, and he's like, "Yeah, that's what I got to do. That was it."
So good.
I don't hate the player. You know, this is the game we live in.
So good. I don't know that we talked about. I think we did talk about Chattanooga.
I don't think we did. I don't think we potted since chat.
No.
So swim was cancelled, right?
Yeah, swim's canceled for the hurricane. Sam Long bagged the dub by 20 seconds over Cody Beals, and Andrew Drites got third. Jackson Laundrie was slated to race 70.3 Augusta, drove that day to Chattanooga to race.
Because all the age group has got offered it as well, didn't they? Because I thought they all got offered. You can go.
Yep.
Wow.
And so Jackson Laundrie did that. He got fourth place, had the fastest bike split of the day. It was a time trial bike start, so it was basically off your own power. Joe Skipper got seventh place, and I believe that he is going to be going to Kona. I don't know if he's released this yet or said anything, so hopefully I'm not the one.
I think he has. Yeah, he has.
So he's going to Kona, and he's going to be helping out with the broadcast. So super pumped that he's going to be there and be able to kind of like reset after probably a pretty tough season for him.
So what that goes one of two ways. Either way, he'll be excellent. One, he'll be on it lots of times again in the future. Two, he'll never do any commentary work ever again because he'll say some really horrendous stuff. Not horrendous, like nasty. He'll just go completely rogue.
Yeah.
Either way, it'll be excellent to listen to because the bloke's brilliant.
That's right.
But it's a high-risk strategy by Ironman, that.
Yeah.
Which I love.
I do want to talk about...
Can we talk Sam Long a little bit there?
Yeah.
What do you think? Does that count as an Ironman?
Look, it doesn't count as an Ironman, but I think it's the opportunity where you get the most from doing the least. And he probably is counting his blessings, right? That like he's like, okay, I punched this ticket early. This is an opportunity now to, once we have an idea of what the T100 schedule will look like for the future, I can make some decisions. But I think, again, like just like Lionel did at Ironman Canada, you know, you don't go to a race and want the swim to be canceled, but you'll take the opportunity certainly if it is, especially with those two athletes, right? And I think it's just they're gifted that opportunity from the effort of going there, right? And it just is what it is. And so now they could take that into 2025 and help steer, you know, hopefully some great decisions from both of them. But I mean,
and he's bagged an early slot for Nice.
Which is huge.
It's just huge. So now you'll say, okay, look, but I don't want to sit here and be like, it's not fair to those guys because they didn't want that. they didn't want to do duathlon either. You know,
The worst one there, Pat, is Cody Beals. Have you had a look at his track record of how many races he's done and the swimmers cancelled?
No.
It's like a curse. I think it's like 4 of his last 5 or something mental like that. And he's had he used to be real good, right? And I don't mean he's not now, but he had some good results in Texas, maybe, and some other places. He's won some races. He's battled it out with Liner, hasn't he, in Canada? Yeah. I like Sam Long. He's a super athlete. I really wanted to see Cody Beals win when that run back was going on, just because it felt like he deserves it. He's so transparent. He talks brilliantly. That is close for an Ironman, especially when you're not head to head. You don't really know.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, that is tight,
Yeah,
man.
it's just a true time trial effort, you know, because you can't trust anybody's math that they're giving you from the sidelines.
Sure.
No, I just don't. I mean, unless like maybe you're Taylor and you have Pat, like someone that really knows the sport,
understood what was going on.
I don't. If I was Cat, I wouldn't trust me.
Yeah,
you just don't know. Like,
of course,
the tracker's dodgy. Everything. Yeah, brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was quite exciting to be fair to it.
Yeah. So, and then on the women's side, we had, was it Sarah True that got the win? Second place, Steph Clutterbuck in her first year as a professional. She's won.
And I've got to say, Steph is a swimmer and a hella good swimmer, like an ex-GB swimmer. So in a race without a swim to take second, yeah, and that's the first time she's ran well. So shout out to Steph. And then Anna-Marie Strelhol, who was like our host when we were in Milwaukee. Yeah, lovely girl. So yeah, good podium there as well. Sarah's the favourite in that race. You know, if Steph had beat her, that would have been a big upset.
Yeah,
but 100%. You know, she didn't, so it's fine. Great bike from Steph as well.
Steph's won her age group in Kona before, right? Or
no, she hasn't actually. I don't think so. No, she was miles ahead and exploded on the run. But yeah, she's doing good things. She's very well sponsored for a new pro. She's a bit of a networker, good looking girl, has done some good Zwift stuff. She's very likable, so she's pretty well known, and that's a really good result for her.
Yeah.
But Sarah True is a classy athlete. You know, as a new pro, you can't expect to be Sarah True. She's been there, done it, right?
Yep. Exactly. Moving on, there was a race in France, Vieux-Bourgois. You guys like that? Was that good enough or no? Yeah?
Pat's nodding. He spent more time in France than I have, I should think.
I don't know. 2 British people won. 2 people I'd never heard of before. Jack Hutchins.
Yeah, Jack Hutchins is he lives near us, trains near us. Really nice bloke. Comes from the short course stuff. He was a reserve guide for the Olympics. So he'd done a bit under the British Triathlon program. It's his first proper win. I love to see it, to be honest, because he's a lovely bloke. And then you've got Harry Palmer, who's a bit of a British YouTuber triathlete, who actually has become really quite good. I think he won Swansea, didn't he? And then Fabienne Muson took third. So yeah, Brits there. The women's side, Daisy Davis. She again is a short course athlete. I think recently off the program, rides pretty damn well. Anna Bergston took second. She's a runner. She did well in the Challenge Champs earlier in the year. And then Meg McDonald, who I coached, took third for another podium.
Hey, congratulations!
Love a bit of Meg. She's great. She's just one of these little workhorse athletes that turns up to many event, and yeah, she's great.
Nice. Well, Pat, you want to tell us how people are able to listen to our show each and every week, the people that support us?
Yep. I want to give a couple huge thank yous. One, new sponsor for the show. They've been here for a few episodes, Raw Nutrition. You will have seen them with the likes of Trevor Foley, Kat Matthews, Jackie Herring. Amazing products. Go check them out. Find out for yourself. But I've been tossing it into my water bottles. Anybody that knows me knows that I've gone just absolutely crazy for my own training again. I'm looking at Strava every day. But I was lucky enough that Raw was able to send some product to me. So huge thank you to them. Kyle, they'll use code PTN at checkout on their website for an opportunity to get some deals. So, yep.
15% off.
15% off. There you go. Try it out for yourself. Another huge thank you to TeleRx, something that I travel with all the time if I'm going to races. I got a huge bunch of travel coming up. I'm going to be, again, multitasking my butt off. I'm going to be bringing that high-strength ibuprofen. I'm going to be bringing some anti-diarrhea pills, should I get food poisoning. And have a go look for yourself. They're available in over 40 states in the U.S. with over 120 products. Use code PTN at checkout for 20% off. 20% off a TeleRx order. So massive thank you to the people that help make our show possible.
And without that, it wouldn't be possible. So
No, it wouldn't. And can I add on the raw thing, Pat?
Please.
It's a bit of an honesty thing. So Kat's actually had lots of nutrition options over the years and has turned down nutrition sponsors time and time again because it's just a nice flexibility to be able to buy your own. And nutrition sponsors actually aren't a big financial player in the triathlon game, like to the athlete. So we held off because there was just no real benefit in it until chatting to the raw lot, looked at their products in a lot of detail, where they got their research and stuff. And she signed with them as like a performance gain product, like really actually genuinely liked what they did. You can easily look back and check this, or her agent could tell you this is true. Genuinely turned down a lot of nutrition sponsors for a long time. So she could have the flexibility, but Raw actually really delivered the goods and I quite like it. The second thing I want to cover, have I previously talked about Pat's current fitness on the show, Kyle? Or have I not?
No.
Right. This is old as well. This is a few weeks ago. To our listeners that think Pat is not an athlete, Pat did 46 minutes at a normalized power of 300 watts. And then he rode straight into 52 minutes at a normalized power of 375 watts to give him an hour and 40 at a normalized power of 350 watts. So if you think Pat's just this big hat wearing agent chubby podcaster, do not go on a bike ride with him. I'm flat out refusing to ride, and that is why I'm not taking my bike to Kona. The boy has watts.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. No, I'm coming back. Yep, I'm coming back.
You know, mate. Yeah, you are.
Yep.
When's your next race, Pat?
It's going to be a few weeks now because I'm traveling, but look, I turned 37 here in a few weeks, and I'm gearing up. This is a multi-year plan. I'm trying to win cyclocross nationals when I'm 40. Is what I really want to do.
He's put his name to it.
But this is going to be a 3-year project. It's going to be.
What are your skills like?
He's got skills.
I got no skills are no issue. This is purely.
I want to see you over the barriers. You're too tall. Pat's,
no, I can do all that. No. I can do all that.
What, like Vanderpool? You're like a tall but elegant over the barriers.
I can hop the barrier. I can do all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I want to see the running. You know, when they're a bit too muddy and high.
Can do that too. No, that's not my issue. It's purely the fitness. So, yep.
That's coming.
Okay, back to the show.
All right. Topic of the week. We wanted to talk about this a couple weeks ago. Are we still down to talk about this? What we think the T100 contract should look like for 2025?
1,000%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pat?
Yeah.
You want to take it away for a little bit?
Well, before Pat, so I think we will know, the athletes will know post Dubai. So we are purely speculating. That's me saying up front, we don't know.
Yeah. This is a reflection of what we learned. So I think, Mark, make sure I'm going to try and go back in time and explain to our listeners what we had in 2024, what we knew, what we figured out, what worked, and where we see opportunity for improvement, knowing what we know today about the 2025 calendar. So in 2024, the way that the T100 awarded contracts were based on the top 16 athletes in the T100's world ranking. And that was
PTO ranking, yeah.
Sorry, PTO ranking. And that was a combination of results that could have been from Ironman, could have been from T100, but they had a weighted system and they had a world ranking based off of that. They went through that list, and if you were in the top 16, you were given an auto entry into the series. First through what's third, got roughly over $100,000 to show up and do the series. And then it tiered down to 16th place, roughly in the 30 to 40,000 guarantee to do the series at that point. If the athletes, like your Christian Blumenfeld, turned down their slot, I think they allowed a roll down maybe to roughly like 20th, but then they cut it. And then they awarded the remaining 4 spots they called hot shots were given those. So that was a Alistair Brownlee, a Javier Gomez. They were given a hot shot contract. For instance, a Lionel or my wife were offered a hot shot contract that they turned down in that case. So they were looking for that. As the series went on, we saw athletes that I don't believe intended to just get paid and not do any races. But that happened, right? We had Daniela Reef, who took a contract at the start of the year, got injured, retired early. I'm assuming that this is my thoughts. This is not factual. I'm assuming the PTO just stopped her deal mid-season. Same thing I'm assuming happened with an Annie Haug, Javier Gomez, probably Laura Phillip. I mean, they're Chelsea Sodaro's in one of these.
Make her contract. Just so you know, she'll race Vegas and Dubai.
Laura Phillip?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so we're clear, I don't want to stumble.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying like there were athletes that certainly did not do races on the front end. Max Newman's another example from the men's side. And what we realized what happened was that hamstrung the PTO in a way, both a little bit financially, and then also it probably hamstrung them to be able to do the full season long narrative like they would have wanted. On top of that, there was a grand final that was scheduled to happen in the Middle East that fell through. So they went from 8 to 7. And then what that did was kind of, now mind you, the other curveball was there were a handful of athletes that had Olympic only contracts. So they were already permitted to do 2 less races. And now you get one removed from that. So then they've had to reconfigure how they're going to accommodate those Olympic athletes for the remaining points accumulation for the end of the year. Mark, have I probably given everyone enough context of where we're at for 2024?
Yeah. I'm glad you covered the Olympic one because that, of course, that goes away next year. So they can be a bit more. That was complicated, but I want to give them credit. I think it was sensible trying to get some of those big Olympic names in and giving them a pathway.
Of course.
Yeah.
So now for 2025, what we have is the athletes have been given a list of 7 races. And I think most of them have some dates attached to it.
No, if not all of the 7 have dates.
All 7 have dates.
Okay, all 7 have dates. So now all 7 of these races have dates, but what we don't know is, one, necessarily how they're going to reward the contracts. Will it be the top 16 based off of the world ranking again? Or will it be the top 10 from the T100 series rankings? And then they're going to shift over to a secondary world rankings and then pull the next 6 names from that. Presumably, yes. We also want to understand, okay, so now you have 7 races on the calendar today. They're saying we believe we're going to have up to 10. How many races will be required? What we saw this year, I think needs to be a big change for 25, is that the first 2, we were all in Miami and we realized this race should have been mandatory. Race number 1 should have been mandatory to have every single athlete there to begin the season-long narrative. So I think next year and we can argue this now a little bit, what races should be mandatory? We're going to say, of the 7 today, how many of those should be mandatory? And what happens if we go up to 10? Because just as easy as they can take a race away, I also think they can just as easily add 1 or 2. And then finally, my question would be, why not just stop at 7 right now? You have the 7, go all in for the 7. Don't worry about adding any more, because ultimately what we want is you're going to have all the athletes in Dubai, and you want to collect as many signatures on Monday after the race when the points are done and the series information is out.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
That's a lot. That's a lot to unpack.
So, just because I'm thick and it's the last thing you said, why leave it at 7? I think it's because that each race, the host cities pay the money and therefore, and the money they pay them is more than the prize money and the organizational cost of that race. So if they go to 10, they can start making more money to pay on the contracts and not relying on their donors. So I imagine maybe 6 is the minimum where they can, let's say, fund the running of the series, and then their donors pay the contracts and the end of year prize money at the moment, as a guess.
I also want to provide a little nuance to that too. There will be municipalities that don't pay, but they want to have a race there, i.e.
Yes.
San Francisco or London. There will be races like Dubai that will pay far more to have their race there. So I would imagine the 3 that they're waiting on that they really want to happen are 3 races that put them in the black for their race day budget.
Great point. Yeah, I imagine that's the answer, to be honest. That would make perfect sense to me. Because you're right, London won't pay for a race. But that's where the PTO is based. And San Francisco is where their biggest funder is based. So yeah.
So if I was Sam right now, I guess, because I think he's ultimately the one that has the position and the power. If I was the CEO of the T100, and I was working closely with my athlete board and listening to them, I would say, guys, I want to make the first 7 that we have on the books right now, they're all mandatory. We're not going to score them all, but they're all mandatory. We're going to drop 1 score. We're going to take 6. And we need you to come to all of them, because the reality is we're strongly believing we're going to add 3. And if we add 8, we're going to not require you to come to 8. If we add 9, we're not going to require you to come to 9. If we add 10, we're not going to require you to come to 10. But these 7 that we have right now, we're going to make you come to all of them.
So what I think they'll go different. I think they'll make so this year it was 3 plus grand finals count of 7 originally. So that was 4 of 7. I reckon they'll start straight off the bat is 6 of 7. I think that's what they'll do. And that sort of forces athletes to attend if they actually want to be competitive. So, because they can't go exclusive yet, and Ironman and T100 do openly recognize this. That they cannot try and stop athletes doing the Ironman World Champs. It's just too lucrative. So they can't go exclusive. And I think by mandating athletes to attend, it would detract from it. But if you make it a scoring thing, what you then get is athletes that say yes to it want to be competitive in it, and they probably go mandated 5 of 7, let's say. You have to score. You have to do 6 that will score if you want to be competitive in the series. For me, that would be a more receptive way of dealing with the athletes. Like, we want you to basically come to all of our races. If you want to do well, you'll come to all of our races. And we hope that if you're signing the contract, you want to do well.
Okay, so then where does this leave us with, Mark, let's pretend that you were the number 1 male at the end of this year. And next year they say, okay, Mark, we've got 7 races on the calendar. We're going to pay you your start fee of $100,000. What we learned in 24 was that if we front load it and we give you a down payment at the start, and then we only pay you roughly, let's just make up a number, 10%, that we think that 10% matters less to you. So what I'm proposing is that they start the year with, every time you show up to a race, you get a 5% deposit to just help subsidize your travel to get there, right? Off the total amount. And then after your 5th race, they give you a 50% of it all of a sudden right there.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer. They didn't do that this year. I don't know if they've really talked about the numbers specifically, but
so then you've done 5
it's not
races.
unfair. Go on, sorry.
You'll have done 5 races, and then that way you'll have received 75% of your pay.
Yeah, because this year, I won't go numbers, but they basically did a chunk, an amount per race of your mandated races, then a chunk.
Yeah, and I think
the chunks are equal. And what Pat's suggesting is no chunk at the start, and then wait to show athletes commit. I think that's really sensible.
Because I just think then it protects this, and I'm saying this because it protects the T100 in this case. Because essentially, like, what they did this year was they paid Ann Haug a chunk of money to use her name, image, and likeness. But I think that chunk of money was too heavy in favor of the athlete in that case.
And let's be clear, both me and Pat benefit from them paying chunk up front and then not. We're actually
Sorry. I want to time out though for a second. I don't get any money from the T100.
Oh, of course, no, but you do have your athlete's interest at heart.
Yeah, of course.
And I think what we're both showing here is actually the athlete's interest at heart is the T100 being successful.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
we like, I would
Yes.
rather Cat didn't get paid and the T100 was
be
successful and we
Yes.
get it later on. Yes.
Yes.
That's and it stops it being abused. That's what.
Yes.
I agree. I think that would be really smart and we would be all for it.
Yeah. So I think what we learned and what we all are in support of is, Sam Renouf, the CEO, says it all the time: season-long narrative. But I think we need there to be the top athletes racing these races, and so I think to redo the way that they paid the athletes. We talked about this. Probably make sure that the first two races are mandatory, and we can argue over should it be 5 of 7, should it be. I like the idea of saying you have to do a minimum of 5 of 7.
I would say 5.
We'll score 6 of 7.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah, I do.
That. I like
because
that
it shows the drive. It's like, am I fulfilling my contract or am I really competitive here? I think the more to count, the better in a way.
Yeah. No, I
because people almost sorry.
If you DNF, that should count against you. Like, it should be a penalty. Like this counts as 0 points for you.
Yeah, and I don't think it should necessarily be a financial penalty because you're committing not on the contract. It's a financial penalty in the miss of pay, but you've turned up, you've competed, so it shouldn't affect your contract.
Yeah,
but I think like injuries and that sort of stuff they are avoidable in a way, and it is part of sport. And if someone can't win because they were injured for 2 of them, well, that's sport, unfortunately.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. I mean, crashing 2 Formula 1 races, right?
Yeah, it happens in every sport. I mean, someone could tear their ACL or rupture their Achilles in an NBA or an NFL game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's part of the sport.
And then I think one thing that surprised me too, reflecting on 24 so far, was the wild card stepping up, right? And so you can look at Yuri Kulin, you can look at Kyle Smith.
Yeah.
I think
Indy Lee.
No, she was contract.
She had a contract. The wild card process, I think for them to be able to take some athletes and to leapfrog them into the series is imperative. And it, let's look at Julie Duran, right?
Who's not on the Vegas start list, so she definitely won't race Dubai. Mad. And I saw on the Vegas with the roll down, she applied for it late. We're going on a bit of a tangent here, but that's wild to me.
Sorry, anyway. and she's not on the. What's also interesting is she's not
on the grand final.
Grand final start list either.
Yeah.
Interessant.
Interesting. So I guess that's what are we missing?
All that to say, how many people do you think that they should give contract to next year?
I think Pat's on the money. Top 10 T100 series recontract half, right? You made the top half, you're in. That just feels really obvious to me. And then you probably go the next 5, say, off the next 5 ranked athletes on the PTO ranking list that aren't one of those top 10. One of those might be in 4th, and they're not top 10 on the T100, right? Maybe Lisa Charles.
Yeah, you could.
They get in, and then you have 5 to play with. Something like that, Pat?
Yeah, something like that. And I think to give the listeners some context as well to understand this difference between the T100 series ranking and we'll call it the PTO world ranking, is that the T100 series ranking, you can only gain points, you can only earn points at if you are in those races. Did you race Miami, Singapore, London, Ibiza, etc.? Now, however, if you're an athlete like Lionel Sanders, who's had, by all accounts, a fantastic year with 3 wins and a third. I haven't seen where he is at on the world rankings today, but he's certainly up there. Where when you pull the top 10 and then you come down, there's a world where they would say to Lionel, "Hey, you're within you're 14th in the world ranking. There's 10 people in front of you that have already gone on to do in the T100 in front of you that have taken a spot. We're offering you a T100 contract for next year based on your world ranking. And then he'll have the opportunity to say yes or no to that. But my point is that if I'm advocating for the T100 right now, they need as much of this policy buttoned up and then already relayed to the athletes so that they can make a decision and put their stamp on it on Monday after the grand final in Dubai.
Yes.
Because then all of a sudden, then what it does too is now the T100 will say, great, we have our 15 athletes that are contracted, or 16, whatever the number is. We're going to start advertising them immediately. December 1st, we're going to start going through the list of who we have in the series. Boom, 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 boom. My fear is that they're not going to drag their feet. That's the wrong way to say it, but they're going to have a wait and see. And I don't like that for them. I want them that the minute the grand final's done to say, we are so excited for 2025. Here are our 15 contracted athletes. Let's go. Keep the ball rolling.
I think they'll go. They'll announce their top 10, and then they'll let the ball roll a bit to wait for maybe the year end or the 1st of December. That needs to be announced because you can choose which races you do to try and scrabble a slot, and that's also quite interesting. So they should announce this soon. They should announce like top 10 are getting it, let's say, and you have to be in the top 15 that aren't the top 10 to guarantee a contract. Because then we can see an end of year scrabble, and that becomes interesting.
Right. Well, then the issue is like they probably haven't thought about this yet. But this is the issue we ran into last year when they awarded points is we didn't know where it stopped on the calendar.
Well, they did a cut. Yeah. That cost Cat quite a lot of money. They did a cut on like August 31st or something.
Yeah.
And it was the top 10. And then Cat was like 11th. And then they did a cut on December the 1st or whatever. And it was the next 6, so the top 16. But in that time, she moved to like 7th.
Yep.
But it was, so we don't know that. And that should have been announced, I think. But
can I still beat the drum of there needs to be more than 20 athletes?
You can beat that drum. Yeah, go on.
Sure.
Because I think that this year will be very unique because there will be more athletes leaving the Olympic pipeline and trying to come to long distance. And there's athletes like Vincent Louis that would thrive in the T100 that don't know necessarily like how he'll do at 70.3, but he's proven, I mean, for the last 20 years that he's been racing on a circuit that he will be great at doing these 7+ races and be committed to that.
I see what you mean. Consistency.
So
I was going to argue with you about Louis, but actually, yes, fair. And Leo Berger, there's so many. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I think doing 10 athletes that are already on the T100, the top 10, they get contracts, whatever. And then I think you go to the next 5 on the PTO ranking that aren't under contract and approach them. And then it rolls down. And then after that, you go to the top 5 ranking for World Triathlon, which will give you 20. And then you get 5 more slots that the PTO can decide who they want those to go to, like a true wild card.
I like it, but why are we being so nice? So why not just do top 10 T100 ranked athletes, and the next 10 are discretionary picks?
I like that too. I like the next 15 are discretionary picks.
All right, yeah, I think you're right. I think 25 is a better number for some reason.
25 is the number, but
because you're more likely to get 20 contracts on the start line, aren't you? And that becomes interesting.
Yeah.
I was incorrect on something. I thought that the PTO would want to hold on to some slots and be like, oh, Mark Dubrick's been racing well, or Marlene DeBoer's been racing well. We want to give her a slot to race at this race. But with the amount of attrition there's been leading into Vegas specifically, I think that the PTO was right in doing the wild cards.
And the other thing I've got to give them credit for, sorry, Pat, hand over, is how honest they've been with the wildcard policy. How rarely they have pulled, because they get the chance to put anyone on they want, and then it rolls down to who has applied for the wildcard through the national governing body, and then it's just an order list. They have stuck to that order list, I think, all bar one athlete once. Fair play.
Yeah, I want to be careful how I say this, but I think the other thing that they have to navigate, and I don't have an answer for, is the depth of field, obviously, on the men that want to get into the race, they've had to go really deep early on in some of the races, like Miami, for instance, to try and field a full women's field, and they haven't been able to get there a handful of times.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder if there's a threshold in the instance of, hey, if we will go up to 25 for either male or female if everyone's within the top 50, right? So if everyone that wants to go in the top 50, we'll put the men up to 25, we'll put the women up to 25. But if we got to go to 51, that we're going to keep the women capped at 20. Or if what we're going to see like in Kona, in Vegas, because of it being 1 week before Kona, the men's field is light.
Yeah.
We're going to stop at 20 there. So I kind of like that idea of saying, hey, look, if this is a really, if the depth of field is going to be amazing, we will reward the broadcast and the race essentially, and say, yep, we'll go up to 25.
Yeah, that could be good.
I think they'll have less problem with depth next year. Like I saw on Instagram the other day, George Taylor Brown's on a time trial right now, in with Matt Bottrell getting fitted out. And, I don't follow most of the German girls, but I imagine they're doing the same thing. I think we'll see way more depth, especially for the women post the Olympic year.
But that's what I want. But that's what I want to, like, that's part of supporting it as well, right? And to say, hey, if we do have the depth of field, whether we say it's top 40 or top 50 in the world ranking, we will support it. We'll put 25 in the race.
Yeah, I think I've got no objection with going up in the field size. I don't think it just gives them a lot more media burden and stuff during the week. And I like the kind of exclusivity, but sometimes I feel people have missed out and we could have more exciting races.
I'm with Kyle. Sometimes I look at that start pontoon, and when I only see 20 or when it's like 17 or 18 on it, I'm like, oh, man. Like, it just looks too small to me,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Fair.
Crazy.
Bit of a dry topic, but it's something that is time relevant and something I think is really important to get right.
You got to be like soup to listen to. If you're still listening to us after this one, we know that you're a triathlon super nerd. Like you,
and especially if you followed it all as well, and you get exactly what we're talking about as we muddle our way through it. Fair play.
Yeah, anybody that's trying to think about sponsoring the podcast, they've officially tossed in their resignation on that. They're like, "This is what they're talking about." No, we're not attaching ourselves to this.
We're good. All right, let's move on to some real racing. This week, Pat, you're heading to Spain for the grand final in Torremolinos.
Yep. So
it's outside. Is it near Malaga?
Near Malaga. Yep. So you fly into Malaga. Your short drive to the race from there. So we have a beach start, World Series grand final. I think the last one that they did there was a beach start. Might have been the Gold Coast in 2018, 2019. I'm being tested here.
Yep.
Could have been one that I missed in there, but a beach start grand final. You've got a flat technical bike course, probably the one that we haven't seen since the likes of maybe Chicago in 2015 with the technicality of it. And then a flat run. So the weather looks to be great. There's going to be racing going on all week. So we've got juniors, U23s, elites, age groupers. I was really encouraged last year when I went to the grand final in Pontevedra, which was on the opposite side, the northwest part of Spain. The age group racing was alive and well and really great. And I think that where we're going this year in Torremolinos, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, will be even better. So, in the men's racing and the women's racing, I'd say we've got two clear standouts as the red hot favorites. We have Alex Yee and we have Cassandra Vaugran. They're leading the series. They've bagged a bunch of wins. They're both Olympic champions. They seem to have, Alex Yee more so than Cassandra have really held on to that form. Cassandra hasn't really dominated, I guess, in the super tri stuff that we've seen, but I would still bet on her to have a great race in the south of Spain here come Saturday. So we've seen big shakeups in the grand final, given that they do 1.25 times the scoring. So the scoring, instead of starting at 1,000, it starts at 1,250. And this does impact the race. So we saw a huge shakeup last year in the men's race where Alex Yee, you would have thought that was his closest chance to be the world champion, and went from, I think, first to fifth on the final day, right? With a bad swim.
Similar to what happened to Hayden Wild in 2022 in Abu Dhabi.
Yep.
When Leo Bergère won.
Yep. So we've seen some big changes. My first thought is that I just have a really hard time seeing anybody but Alex Yee and Kassan winning this thing.
God, I hope so, because this is getting painful now, watching it like a massive upset on the last race.
Yeah, but we saw that again, and like Kyle just said, we saw it in Abu Dhabi in 22. So
and then like 2 years in a row now, it's all shifted out, which is great viewing,
which is good for us. And World Triathlon does a great job with Triathlon Live and having like a live ticker of like what points are at for right now and things like that.
Yep. So I think
you're going to want to tune into that race.
I would say that, right? If you don't watch short course triathlon, do tune in and have spend 10 minutes understanding where the series stands. Tune in and watch this, because the last 2 years it's been fucking wicked, really, hasn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
And it is a weird term, grand final. It is actually the world championship.
Well, no. It's just like F1. They name a world champion based on accumulation of points at the end of the year. So the final race is a grand final because it has more points.
But winning the grand final is significant too.
Winning the grand, yes.
Win the series.
Good prize money.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. It's enhanced prize money on the day as well.
70 grand a win or something. It's quite a lot.
70 to win the series. It's 30 to win the day, and I think normally to win a World Series is $18,000 or $19,000. So.
Yeah. So if you win both, that's $100,000 day.
Yep.
It's really only 70 points per Worlds in Kona now where you can win more for a one-off triathlon. T100 race is 25 grand, so it's only the two big ones left that are maybe off. I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
The grand final is separated. Cassandra Beaugrand has about 100-point lead over Beth Potter. Lisa Turch is in third place with about 130 points behind Cassandra Beaugrand. So there's still a lot to play for, even with Kassan winning.
Yep. And I will say, obviously, in the women's race, some notable mentions that are missing, right? So you have the athletes that have gone to the T100. So you have Flora Duffy, Taylor Spivey, Taylor Knibb that are out from the series. You have Julie Duran, who's not racing for some reason. You have Laura Lindemann, who's withdrawn since she had the bad race in Way High. So you do have some serious horsepower from the race that's missing.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's more racing that happens. So there's the U23 race starts the week on Thursday. The U23 men and women. That'll be good to watch just because then those are going to be the people more than likely that are either already on the circuit or will be on the circuit next year and leading into the next Olympic cycle. The juniors race on Friday. And then I think they have I have like a mixed U23 junior team relay, which will be exciting to watch. But you got all the top men, all the top women for short course. Most of them that did the Olympics are back, and it's gonna be exciting to watch. We'll see the road conditions. It's supposed to rain leading into the race, so we'll see road conditions if that's affected at all for any of the races. That may be an interesting watch. And then also the calendar for 2025 should be also released in the coming days. I would suspect that it's going to come out on Monday, the 21st, after World Triathlon Congress. However, it could be leaked beforehand. Like, we already have the date. I thought WTCS Hamburg was not happening anymore, and they posted on their Instagram that it's back. So we got a couple of dates still that are going to roll out for the series for 2025. But hopefully...
they typically announce this when they meet for Congress on the grand final week. So ideally this week or next week we've got it.
Yeah. So it'll be fun to watch. But tune in. Be sure to get on Triathlon Live and watch the race. They have an app, and I believe they're doing it at a discounted rate right now for the grand final. I think it's like 15% off maybe. 15 or 30% off to watch a race on Triathlon Live.
Sure.
Sure.
It's
Moving
worth it.
on. The big one. T100 Las Vegas. We have a significant amount of, I think we have 9 men wild cards.
And that's because it's the week before Kona, right?
Right.
It was
There
always going to happen. It's a daft week to have it.
There is one athlete that's doing both. Peter Hamer.
Yeah. So I chatted to his brother about this. He gets super anxious if he misses out on a race that people are doing. Like he does like random races you'll have never heard of in Belgium. Like I'm talking local triathlons. Just goes and smokes them.
He's just got
It's
FOMO.
not a bright decision if you want to focus on Kona, but make yourself happy.
And we'll get into this a little bit, but I've got firsthand reports of athletes that are already in Las Vegas, and they are
Hot as shit.
Well, sorry, it's hot. The forecast is it's gonna cool off a ton, but the course is super challenging. Bike course is hilly, and the run course is hillier.
Wow.
I love it. I'm a bit gutted we're not going to it.
I'm going. I'll be there on Saturday.
I meant me and Kat, but of course I'm sad we're not going.
Yeah, that's fair. So on the men's side, you got all the same usual suspects. You got Martin Van Riel, Rico Bogan, as far as the series, and Sam Long. Jason West, who hasn't raced amazing this year.
Freddie Funk's there.
He's able to turn it back around. Marjolaine Pierre is back. James Teagle's doing the race from Great Britain.
After, I think, 3 Ironman races this year, and he piled in Barcelona, didn't feel great.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The Americans, Justin Reilly and Mark Dubrick.
Sorry, Alistair Brownlee.
Oh, he's going to win the race. I know. It's crazy.
Hey, Ibiza was a good sign. 1 minute penalty, still came fourth.
It's pretty good.
Martin Van Riel, right? Surely it's just Van Riel crushes this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bike course is just going to be too challenging for anyone else to even feature.
I think Alistair will be there with him. Rico Bogan's surprisingly good on the hills.
Yeah.
Freddie Funk will probably be there, but I think he'll be
There's
in
a lot of Germans. Fred Funk, Mika Newt, Justus Nieschlag.
Oh, Mika will be there. Yeah.
Matt Squirrel.
I mean, it's a deflated men's field because of Kona. But if you offer me a race where I get to see Van Riel, Brownlee, Newt, Funk, all of these lot go head to head, it's still a great race.
Yeah, it's still a good race. On the women's side, we had, I think there was there 5 wild cards on the women's side or more? 5 or 8?
Familiar. Yeah.
But there's going to be another one, right? There's no way Lucy Charles is racing this.
Yeah,
she's still on the start list. But unfortunately, I do sincerely mean that. But she's confirmed to do a Zwift race that she's been trying to qualify, like some Zwift World Champs thing or whatever, the Thursday before the race. So I don't think she'll be there, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then on the men's side, I guess it will depend on how. Pat, are you playing with your mic or something?
Yeah, Pat, just for the viewers, I might be the oldest person in this podcast, but my grandfather, who passed away a long time ago, is still better with a computer than Pat. And Pat is on his Apple headphones because the 2 different fancy mic setups Carl bought him apparently don't work, but we're making him bring it to Kona. And if I can fix it as a moron, he is more of a moron.
I love you guys. I love you guys.
I guess also the men's side, we don't know how Josh Amberger is going to turn up after racing in Malaysia. So we could also see another dropout or 2 on the men's side.
The women's field is stronger, though.
Yeah, women's field is stacked. Taylor Spivey, Taylor Knibb, Ann Hogg, Emma Pallant, India Lee, Lucy Byram.
Another podium here for India Lee gives her a real shot of a top 3 overall in the series.
Yeah,
Taylor Knibb's hard to see getting beat, especially on a hilly course. It's going to be a massacre, surely, again.
Yeah,
how many minutes do you guys think? How many minutes?
I don't want to whatever to that. I think you look at the way that India Lee rode in Ibiza, and it's really hard not to think that she's not in the mix here for another podium.
I completely agree.
And I just think I don't want to put undue pressure on her, but I think she looked so great in Ibiza, and I didn't. This is news to me that Julie Duran's not racing, and so while I've got my pick for first here sewed up, all of a sudden I really like the idea of India Lee getting second place here.
I mean, did India Lee? She only lost like 2 minutes to Taylor on the bike.
Yeah, I think
When do people do that? People don't do that.
I actually thought it was the number that was in my head was 147. But I think that anyway, that might have been what Julie Duran lost by. But anyway, it was in the 2-minute range, and so I think
On her own.
All right. Are we going podium picks? Because I'm ready.
hit it, start it, Kyle.
Okay. Women, I got Nib for the win, Finley second, and India Lee third.
Finley on a course like that is a good shout. What
And-
about you? You're not having the Ironman world champ Laura Philipp on there?
I think she's on a celebration tour.
As she bloody should be.
Yeah. I think that she's going to do this race to fill her contract, obviously. So
I think I'm going to take Nib for the win. We're all gonna have that. I'm going to take India Lee for second, and I'm going to take Laura Philipp for third.
I've got mine switched. I had Taylor Nibb in first, Laura Phillip in second, actually, and then Indy Lee in third. So,
and we just don't think Anne will find something.
I don't think so.
I
think the spike
it
course-
might be a behind the scenes overshare, but I think the viewers or the listeners will appreciate it because everyone likes Anne Haug. I've never seen her so happy. She had people with her on the trip. She was social. She just seems in a great life space, and it was genuinely rewarding to see in Ibiza. An athlete of her age in her career that's done so much for our sport. Whether that has a detriment to performance, I don't know. I don't care. I hope she's great, but it's not why I haven't picked her. I just think Anne Haug is just she's almost leaving the sport in my eyes with Roth.
Yeah.
Watch me say this, and she'll bloody win Kona next year. But that's maybe why I'm not picking her.
That could be it. That could be it.
That's all fair. Yeah, I think we'll see a great race. I haven't looked at the forecast. Obviously, it's been
Supposed to cool down. It's been in the 90s, and it's supposed to cool down significantly, like 50s, 70s, desert cold.
Yep.
And then on the men's side, you guys want to do some picks for the men?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going Sam Long for second place.
All right, good. We're about to have words there, Carl.
Martin Van Riel for the win.
Yeah.
Sam Long second. And third, I'm going to go with one of the Germans. I'm going to go Mika Newt. I wanted to go Nicholas Mann, but I think that Mika is on fire right now after his podium performance in Ibiza.
I will take Martin Van Riel for the win after dropping Alistair Brownlee at the 15k point. Alistair Brownlee in second, and Mika Newt does the third.
I'm on here with Mark. I got Martin Van Riel in first, Alistair Brownlee in second, and it will be the best race that we've seen Alistair do in many, many years. And then I've got Sam Long in third.
It's pretty good.
I just don't see Sam getting back into the race here. Because I just don't see... I think that front group with Van Riel and Alistair pushing the hills and Mika Newt, I think Sam will still bleed time to them, even though he'll ride through the rest of the field, is my worry.
I want to talk about how hard the bike course is here for a second.
Is it that bad?
I've got somebody that's ridden it now. That has.
How is Aaron? Am I right? Was that a good guess?
Yeah, you dirty dog. I mean, there's only a handful there, so it's easy to, but we know. So here's the deal. He's got a 54-33 as his easiest gear setup. And for our audience, go put your bike in a 54-33 and then try riding up a hill. He said, look, I think I'm going to switch it to a double. So I've got something else on the inside and then even something a little bit bigger on the outside because I want to pedal some of these downhills, right? So that's a big order to if you need something easier than that. Because, anyway, they're going so fast on those bikes. So I think we're going to see some explosions. I think that what I'm saying is that creates an opportunity for a Sam Long to come through on the bike because it will blow up, and
Yeah.
there'll be some bodies along the way. So I don't
And
think we're
because
going to
a
see
lot of our
back
listeners,
riding.
because a lot of our listeners will know that gear, and I think that's a lot for climbing. But remember, someone like Aaron Royal can probably push maybe 6.2 watts a kilo on a climb, and they'll all be Swifters that listen to us. So he'll push 6.2 to 6.5 watts a kilo on a climb easily.
That's so
And
gross.
I think that's about reasonable. And he's going to run out of gears with that, which means it is a cheeky course.
Yeah.
Mm.
Man, it's going to be good to watch. Tune in on Saturday, October the 19th. It will be the women going at 8 a.m. Pacific time and the men at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Penultimate race for the T100 series. We'll see how everyone shakes out going into the grand final in Dubai.
I'm looking forward to it.
You guys have any hot takes you want to talk about?
Yeah, I had one on here that I wanted to talk about. We saw a 12-year partnership announced between World Triathlon and the T100. A lot of people asked what that means. They said, is the T100 going to be around for 12 years? And I said, no, this is a strategic plan where they've got 12 years, they've got a vision that they want to see through for the next 12 years and how they're going to work together.
To me, it says, what I like about it is it says that the T100 is committing to a world governing body standard of organization for the mid-term, near-term, whatever you want to call it, duration of their existence. They don't want to become bigger than the sport of triathlon. They want to operate within it for however long they exist.
Yep.
Is that right, Pat?
You nailed it. And the big thing that, that was noted in there that I had said from the beginning was I wanted to see some of these super weekends, right? Where we saw a weekend where a World Series and a T100 shared a venue. So we go to a location like a Yokohama that's been a mainstay in short course racing for 15 years. And now there's a T100 there that same weekend. And I think I just like the idea of it because you can create these super weekends of racing, right?
Yeah.
And so while we may not like that there's some overlap, I think the idea that we try to make them as big as possible is really important. And then also in triathlon, we know that finding venues is challenging because it's swim, bike, run is hard. And so for these venues to say, okay, look, we want to work together here and host more than one event on a weekend, I think is ultimately positive for the sport. So
I think the festival weekends would do great too.
I do as well.
Fantastic, because then you have age groupers that, like, if their wife or kids or whatever, like, you want to do a sprint, or if you want to do a longer distance race, I'm not saying a long course race, but a longer distance race with 100K, then they can do that and anything in between.
Yeah, that's an obvious no-brainer. Initially, I thought, why would World Triathlon do this? Because they'll lose their celebrities to T100 on the same weekend. But then I think they're recognizing that they can't financially compete. So they're going to lose their Hayden Wild. But in a way, they keep him. Like, they're at their weekend. He might not be racing the World Series. He'll still come back to the Olympics because the Olympics really, the good old Vincent Louis, if you have two things on the bookshelf, all that matters is Ironman World Champs, Olympic gold. That's still true today. So they know they get him back at some point, but they actually keep him within their... So I had to think about it a bit more. Initially, I was like, why? Why would you do that?
No,
but
and then
it makes a lot of sense.
The other thing too is that it just keeps them all under the umbrella for, you have imagine a young developing athlete that gets to go to a World Series, and then they see the same thing. They go, okay, look, well, eventually when I'm done with short course, I can go to middle distance, and this T100 series racing looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
why not?
Yeah.
I think of these festival weekends like what I'm going to this weekend as a grand final, and with all of these races going on, it's a nice place to go and think, okay, the sport of triathlon has some momentum, has some legs,
Yeah,
and I don't see a downside into making these super weekends of racing.
Yeah.
I'm completely with you. I think it would be brilliant for the sport.
So
And as for our audience, right? Like the people that we chat to every day, you know, I want to go do an Olympic distance. It's sort of dying. Everyone wants to do Ironman.
Yep.
But why wouldn't you go and do an Olympic distance in Spain
Yep.
if the grand final, there's going to be a World Series race the same day you're racing or whatever, and then the next day there's a T100 and wicked.
Yeah. No, and the other thing too, the example I'll give here is when the T100 piggybacked off of USA Age Group Nationals in Milwaukee.
Brilliant weekend.
It was an amazing weekend, right? And we know that World Triathlon for the next 4 years, there are no World Cups scheduled in the US. There are no World Series scheduled in the US. I think this could be a stimulus because the T100 will want races in the US. It's imperative. I think that this is a stimulus to get a short course race of high caliber back in the US, which is imperative for the health and growth of the sport.
Yeah. Amen. Next. Recently, Rudy Von Berg signed a deal with Factor leading into the Ironman World Championship this weekend. Pat, as an agent, do you foresee more brands will sign any deals leading into Kona, or do you think that everyone's getting ready for next year?
No,
Or combination?
typically this time of year, I don't think we'll see any big sponsor announcements that are new for 2024. Everybody's kind of on a calendar year typically, so Jan 1 to December 31.
Yeah.
What you have going on right now is a lot of planning for 25 and beyond. So
Right.
there will be brands that are waiting and watching to see how athletes perform in Kona and then make decisions off of that, certainly. So, in the case of Rudy, he was without a bike sponsor all year and then had been, I'm assuming, working to get one. So it's what I like to see here, is you have effectively a bike brand that hasn't been active in triathlon decide to make an investment in triathlon. So for Factor Bikes, it also makes sense their US headquarters is in Boulder. Rudy Von Berg is 5 minutes up the road in Boulder. This makes a ton of sense. What I like to see and what I know is that the owner of Factor, Rob, he is very generous with his contribution to, I'll call it racing in general, but he scrutinizes where those investments are made and how he will see an ROI on them. So for him to look at it and to go, I see an opportunity in triathlon, I'm going to put some money into it. I think that's actually a great signal for the sport of triathlon versus whatever Rudy benefited from the deal. That's its own thing. But what I see this is like a new brand coming into the sport. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
And they are sexy bikes.
Great looking bikes. Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. You guys have anything else? 2 bits of housekeeping.
Oh, just other hot take. Lionel Sanders slagged us off on his YouTube, jokingly, for those that watched it. Promised he'd be on the next show. Isn't on the next show. What's up with that? Let's get his agent on the phone.
If only we had an inside track to Lionel on this from anybody on this pod. So,
do you know what? I think we should get fucking Erin on the show because she'd do a better job of this.
Yeah.
If Erin was on the show, he would be on the show. But his agent and Bezzy mate and videographer can't sort.
And his videographer are a
Right,
bunch
we've got to
of
resort to his wife.
clowns.
Erin, we need you. Sort it out, mate, because
just
these
come
two are
on the
useless.
pod. Yeah, exactly.
I got 2 bits of housekeeping. Number one, obviously, if you've been watching this on YouTube, you've seen this beautiful.
Sorry, is this on YouTube again?
We're back on YouTube, Mark. We got to get some revenue in here. I've done
about 5 nicotine pouches and about 6
Good, Mark.
Moscow mules.
Okay, I took my first Zin yesterday at the football game.
Oh, mate, the first one, you got to work through that. I bet the lip burnt, didn't it? Head went.
My lip burned. My head was like spinning.
Right,
I was
kids.
like 5 beers in. I was not in a good place.
Right, kids and Kyle, don't do it. Just don't bother. Don't start down that route. It's not cool. It's not big and clever. If you watch the YouTube, I didn't know this was on YouTube. I'd have gone off camera to do it.
Yeah, this guy goes,
Mom and Dad, I'm sorry.
we've been hanging out with this guy at the football game, and he goes, here, you need one of these. And I was like, I've never done that before. And he was like, just throw it in the top of your lip. And I'm like, oh, gosh. So
Well, if you want to ride a 424 bike split, you've got to pop 2 of them on the bike, and that's all it takes. It's not grow up. I'm sorry. Right, move on. Let's go.
2 housekeeping. Number 1, hats available online. You can check the link in the description of both the podcast and YouTube for getting the hat and the shirts. We have 2 shirts available online. We might be doing more stuff. We'll see how this one goes. We're close to selling out, so if you're wanting this stuff, you should order it now because we're only doing 1 run, and then the next merch will be completely different. So, number 2, we are on YouTube because we are doing a pretty significant YouTube push during Kona. We're going to be coming out with daily videos, daily podcasts. We have committed Luca Ferdino to come on an episode with his dad. I guess his dad can come on too, Jan. And then Richard Laidlow has committed to come on for a podcast.
That will be brilliant. He is a wicked bloke.
We got the lot. So it's going to be awesome. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to be pumping out hella content. We're going to be all over the place on the island. So there's only one thing that you could do to help us out, which would be to support the people that support this show. Be sure to buy some stuff from Raw. Be sure to buy some stuff from TeleRx or open a Waterfall bank account. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in Kona.